test for our auth controller functions. So the next one's going to be get profile data. So we're going to have it get profile data. And let's look. Okay, so it's using the user ID from the auth guard. And then it's getting the user, and then it's returning the email, username, and user. Okay, so should return the user email, name, and username from their user ID. Async. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look. So the first thing that's going to be coming in is this rec. Okay. And rec is going to be of type any. I don't really know what the definition is. Let me go. So I'm just going to make sure that we have rec.user.sub. Okay. So we're going to say const rec is going to be equal to an object. And then we're going to have user be an object in it, and then we're going to have sub be in it, and then be 15. All right. And we're going to say rec is any. All right, then we are going to define what comes back. So we're going to say const user data, and that is going to be name, Callie Stoscup, email, calliestoscup@gmail.com, and username, which is going to be C Stoscup. All right, so let's go and make sure name, email, username, perfect. All right, so we need to mock this now. So we're going to say service.get user, get profile data dot mock resolved value is going to be user data. Okay, that's what we want to come out of this function. All right, so now we can actually call the function that we're testing. So we're going to say const result is equal to await service controller dot get profile data, and then we're going to pass in the rec. Okay, now we expect that our result is equal to user data. All right, let's go ahead and run this test and see how we do. And perfect, we pass. All right, so now we can add our other expect statements. We expect service.get profile data to have been called, and we expect service.get profile data to have been called with. And then let's take a look. It's going to be with the ID, so we're going to have rec.user.sub. All right, let's rerun this test and see how we do. Perfect, so we have this get profile data function tested. All right, I'm going to minimize it and move on to the next one. The next one's going to be get user projects. So it get user projects. Let's look at what it should do. All right, so we're going to go to the definition, and it's going to get the projects for the user, and it's going to return an object with the user, which should be email, name, and username, like that. Email, name, username, right? And then the projects, okay? So let's say should return the user email, name, and username along with the user projects from their user ID. Is that true? Yep. All right, so now what we can do is we can do async. All right. So let's kind of mock this out. So we're going to say const rec is equal to an object, and then it's going to have a user object in it, and then we're going to have a sub, which is going to be 15. All right. Then we are going to also mock the return. So then we're going to say return value returned object is going to be an object, and then in it we're going to have a user object, and the user object is going to be this. All right, and then we are going to have projects, which I'm just going to make projects an empty array. We're going to say user has 0 projects. Because it doesn't really matter because we already tested the get project or get user projects and it works. We're just testing that this function basically calls that one. All right, so now we can do our mocking. So we're going to say service.get user projects.mock resolved value, and we're going to mock the returned object. All right. So then we can say const result is equal to await controller dot get user projects, and then we will pass in the rec. Now we expect that the result is going to equal the returned object. Let's run the test. Awesome, it passes. So now let's write our other expect statements. We expect service.get user projects to have been called, and we expect service get user projects to have been called with, and then we're going to pass in rec.user.id. Nope, and rec.user.zip. All right, now let's run the tests. Perfect. All right, so now we can minimize this and move on to the next one. All right, so in the next one, we are going to be testing get project. So we're just getting one specific project. We're passing in a project ID here and then the request, which is going to give us our user ID. Then let's look at what we're doing in it. So within it, we are then going to get all of the users' projects, and then we are going to find that specific ID and return the project. All right, so it's actually going to be similar to this one. So I'm going to copy it. So we are going to call this get project, and it should return the desired project based on the passed in user and project IDs. All right, so we're passing in first a project ID. So we're going to say const ID is equal to 1. All right, and then we have our request, which is going to be passed in as well. Then we have our project, which is going to be here. All right, our project is going to be an object, and it's going to be ID 1. It's going to be name project 1. Description is going to be project 1 description. And then let's do this and say as a project. And then we're going to do features is going to be an empty array. All right, so that should be good. So now we are going to be mocking not get users projects. We're going to mock get project, and we are going to mock the result value as project. All right, so now we can call controller dot get project. Nope. And then we can pass in the ID and the rec. All right, we expect the result to equal project, and we expect get project to have been called, and we expect it to have been called with ID and then rec user sub. All right, let's do a test. And we failed. Because we're not calling the service.project. What are we calling the service.project with? Oh, it's switched. Which honestly was a little bit silly of me when I coded this. Let's take a look. And perfect, we passed all 7 tests now. So now we can go ahead and move on to our next one. All right, our next one then is create project. All right, so let's take a look. It create project. All right, let's see what it should do. All right, so we are passing in a project DTO. All right, let's go to our definition, name and description. Okay, so we're writing a name and a description for a project, and we also will have the request go in, and then we're going to call the auth service and create a project. What are we returning? We are going to return whatever returns from this. We're going to return all of the users' projects. Okay? Perfect. So let's go ahead and say that. Should create a user project and return all of the user projects. All right, so let's first start with the information that's going to be passed to this function. So we're going to have const project DTO, and this is going to be of type project DTO. And that's going to have a name, let's say project 1. And let's have a description, which is going to be P1 description. All right. Next, we are going to have the request. So we're going to say const rec is going to be user and then sub 15. All right. Next, we need to do const projects because we're returning the user's projects. Let's just pretend it has one project to be simple, and we'll say ID 1, then we'll say name project 1, and we'll say description P1 description, and then we'll say features empty array. All right, and this is going to be as a project array. And then user. So I'm going to do it like this instead. All right, cool. So now let's do our mocking. So we're going to say service dot create project dot mock resolved value, and we're going to mock the resolved value projects. Okay, so now we can actually call the controller function. So const result is equal to controller dot create project, and then we can pass in our project DTO and our request. Now we can say that we expect our result to equal projects, and let's run it before we add our other expect statements to make sure we are on the right track, and we aren't. All right, so auth service create project. Oh, I didn't add an await here. Okay, let's try that again. I didn't even look at my error either, so that was probably silly of me, but we passed. Woohoo! All right, so now we are going to say that we expect service dot create project to have been called, and we expect service dot create project to have been called with. And let's take a look. We are passing in project DTO dot name, project DTO dot description, and rec dot user dot sub. All right, let's rerun the tests. All right, perfect, and we passed, so that is looking good. And we can go ahead and move on to the next one. So the next one that we worked on is then going to be update project. All right, so let's start it, and we'll say update project, and let's figure out what this one should do. All right, so we're going to get an update project DTO, which is going to have a field and value and looks like project ID in it, and the request. Then we're going to update the project, and let's try to figure out what we're sending back. All right, we got to go all the way into project services to look at that. So we're going to send back the project ID. So we're going to send back a project with statuses. Okay, so it should update a field on a project and return the updated project with statuses. All right. So let's take a look. All right, so first we have our update project DTO. So we're gonna say const update project DTO, and that's gonna be of type update project DTO is equal to, and then let's go ahead and verify that we know what's in there. So field, value, and project ID, which is what we thought. So say field, let's just say name. Value is going to equal to, let's just change it to Callie. Valley is Callie, value. And then project ID, let's change that to 1. Right? Next. All right, so the next thing that we can look into is going to be what's returned then. Oh, well, we need to do our request. I forgot about that. So const rec, it's an object with a user object. And then sub is going to be 15. All right. So then we're going to return, we'll have project with status, and that is going to be that. And we're going to say ID1, name, it's going to be Callie. Description is going to be equal to, nope. Sorry. Name of the project is going to be project1, edited. I forgot we were editing a project and not a user. So the name is going to be project1, edited. Description can still be P1, description. And then we'll have features as just an empty array. And this is going to be as a project. All right, now let's figure out what the statuses are because I already forgot. Let's go to get project by ID. Let's go to add statuses to project. This is adding something to the feature. So it looks like we just will have a status then. So we'll do status, and that should be to do because there are no features, so nothing can be. And user is missing. What is user supposed to have in it? ID 15, name Callie Stose Cup, username C Stose Cup, email calliestoscup@gmail.com, and password fake password. Is it still mad? Oh, because it's not a project because this has status. My bad. Okay, so then we need to mock our service. So we're going to say service dot update project dot mock the resolved value, and the resolved values will be project with status. All right, and then we can actually call the controller function now. So const result equals wait controller dot update project, and then we will pass in the update project DTO and the request. Then we expect that our result is going to equal project with status. All right, let's give this a go. Perfect. Now let's add our other expect statements. Also, sorry if you can hear my daughter right now. She's mad at bedtime. So we expect that service.update project to have been called, and we expect that service.update project to have been called with update project DTO and the rec. All right, let's go ahead and give this a run and see how we do. Oops. Oh, right, because it looks like we changed it. So dot field, and then update project.to.value, then rec.user.sub, and then update project.project ID. All right, now let's try it. And we passed. All right, perfect. I am going to resume in the next video. I'll see you in a bit.